everybody. It's your favorite humanoid, the one to avoid. This your boy QB is one. Talk to him, son.
Hey, what's good, everybody? No Sense, episode 3. Appreciate y'all sticking with us, man. And we enjoy doing it. A lot of love, a lot of feedback.
Nice.
And we're ready to get into it. So, what's today's topic, Big On?
Today's topic is, you kind of touched on a little bit last week. So basically, is fetishes and kinks and relationships. And intertwining, the two entities.
Right. Do you have a foot fetish? Do you like your nipples played with?
Impact play.
Does a brother got muscles on, got women get slobbing and all that going on?
Muscle suits, muscle pads.
A lot of times you hear people, their first thing they'll say is, I don't have a fetish, or I don't have a kink, or whatever like that, and it might not be to that strong degree because, well, first, let me break down what a fetish is, all right? Now, a fetish is often centered around an object or a specific act.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like a certain body part or a certain, if somebody's doing a certain thing to you.
Or inanimate objects, or, something that somebody wears, like a lot of women wear lingerie,
Mm-hmm.
Things of that nature. But then you also have, like, kinks, right? So if the fetish is the object or specific act, the kink is the sexual behavior that falls outside of the norm of the mainstream.
For instance, you might have an ass fetish, right? Men or women, it's a sex type of thing. An ass fetish. But if you like having your ass licked, that's the kink. The fetish is the ass. Oh, you get aroused seeing a nice ass. And you don't get an erection or get turned on unless you see the ass doing a certain thing. The kink is having something done to your ass.
Big facts.
So, just so you have an idea of where it goes. Me personally, those that know me on a personal level know I'm a huge foot fetish fan. I don't know where it came from.
Manifested.
But I used to hide it. I used to hide it back in the day because people are more prone to be what their environment tells them to be. If your family says feet is nasty or what have you, you're gonna go with the mindset that okay, this is nasty. Well, if your environment says, hey man, I suck a mean toe, you know what I'm saying? You kind of get an idea. You get the idea that, okay, well, this is all right. Let me go into the next level of things. But as I matured and got older and started researching and realized that this is one of the most common fetishes out there, then you're more prone to accept that, and deal with those, who are into those type of things. Now, on a first date, I would recommend you go and tell your date, hey, I'm into this X, Y, and Z, because you might scare that person off. But you just know that it's healthy, it's normal, and you can kind of go from there. Let's see, what other types of fetishes we got going
on? Let's see here. If you want to go down, I can go down the list.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you got foot fetish, as he touched on. You have impact play and sensation play, which is like spankings and shit like that. You got role playing, psychological play, which delves into the BDSM or the bondage, dominant, sadist, masochism area with doms and subs, and you got masters and slaves and things of that nature. I've actually studied a little bit on that to get more of an understanding of it. So you also have voyeurism and exhibitionism. The difference between the two is the voyeurism is the person that likes to watch, and exhibitionism is the person or the couple that engages in the act so people can watch. You got restraint play, which is like handcuffs and ropes and things of that nature. You got anal play, that has its own list of subcategories in itself. Sex with other people, so you're talking about threesomes, trains, gangbangs, orgies. You also have non-human entities, which is like the furries, the pet play, and using like somebody as a pet, or dress up as a pet or things of that nature. And then you have like the fetish objects, which we kind of touched on a little bit.
All right. And the reason why we chose this topic, because we know a lot of things in the black community is real taboo when it comes to sex. And, you know, you have the alternative lifestyle, the swinger lifestyle that's out there. You have, you know, people doing the poly lifestyle, things of that nature. So it becomes taboo. You know, my quote I always say, everything is gay in the black community. You know, because if a woman has a man, you like your nipples licked, well, that's gay. Okay. You know what I'm saying? You like this and you like that. Oh, that's gay, that's gay. If you ain't hitting it from the back with Timberlands on, then, you know, apparently, you know, that's not what a man does, you know. So we want to educate you that not every man is the same.
Right.
And the thing is that when people, first thing, like for me, again, I go on personal experience, is that when the first time you tell a female, okay, hey, I have a foot fetish or what have you, and you start to go into detail, the first thing that they'll say is, oh, I don't like feet. Well, again, the fetish is not for you. The fetish is for your partner. If the person is telling you what they need to be turned on, your first reaction shouldn't be, I'm about to cut it off. You know what I'm saying? Understand it and get an idea of where they're going from and see if that's something you can participate in. Of course, you shouldn't be forced to do anything you don't want to do. But if your initial reaction is, ew, I don't like it because, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's when we jump into like the misconceptions.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of the misconceptions is, one, if you do it with one person, oh, you do this to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is that the only thing that gets you off?
Right.
Then, you know, and then when you tell somebody that don't understand what it is or there are things of that nature, they're like, you're weird.
Right.
You know, you're strange.
Right. They think you're in the bushes hiding out, looking at feet, and I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not for people who got sense anyway.
Right.
And I got plenty of sense.
Well, I ain't got no sense. So, but then you also, like, you have to take the understanding from both ends.
Mm-hmm.
So, from my perspective, being me,
mm-hmm.
I look at it as something that adds to the intimacy
mm-hmm.
when it comes to the fetishes and kinks, because you can go into the bedroom, you keep doing the same thing over and over and over,
right?
And you know, it's like there's more to it.
Right.
That's like watching Bob's Burgers, only watching a one episode. There's a whole many other episodes and seasons.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To get into, but why just focus on the one thing?
Right.
You know, and that can make things dull and mundane and vanilla, right? So I have certain kinks and fetishes, but I added to the intimacy.
Right.
And then for me, adding it to the intimacy, and then watching her or feeling her or listening to her be pleased by it turns me on even more. So
right.
So then when I talk to somebody and they're like, well, I don't know about that. That's just weird and nasty. So then I ask them, why do you think that?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually talked to someone, or asked them a few days ago
mm-hmm.
about it. Like, why don't you like it? Like, what transpired for you to not like it, or to think that it's weird?
Right.
And she was saying that she went out on a date with somebody one time, and all they want to do was just, and the first time meeting,
right.
all they want to do was take pictures of her feet, and that's before she even realized that it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So at first she thought it was weird and it freaked her out, and she was young.
Right.
So now she has that scar.
Right.
And then so from there forth on, it's just been like, that's weird. I mean, just stay away from it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's cool if you like it, but don't.
Right, don't incorporate it with me.
Right. So then you got to understand, like, you know, some people may have been scarred by certain things.
Right.
And then, like you said, is their demographic, their environment. You know, and generally, especially in the black community, we go by what we are taught.
Right.
And then we stay close-minded within that.
Right.
That's why when I go back home to Cleveland, like, I still see people doing the same shit that they was doing 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
And so I don't like talking to those people because it's like, man, let's catch up. Why, you doing the same shit?
Right.
So now I feel like I'm just going to keep bragging on myself. So it's staying within that mindset. But then when you get out and explore, you're like, oh shit, there's more
right.
to it.
And again, to piggyback off that, the more you open up with a person, and the more you get to see, okay, you know what, let me step out of my safe zone, you start to find out that there are more pleasures in life that you totally didn't know about. Like me, I heard for a long time about my fetishes and stuff from my wife because like you said, in the black community, this stuff is taboo. You don't go tell no black woman you got this, you like that, Look at you like you crazy. Like, huh? You know. So again, is that, but then when you trust your partner enough to say, okay, look, I'm going to put my pleasures into your hand, and hopefully that we can build something with that. And surprisingly, you'd be surprised how many women, like this and like that, but they don't know how to bring that out because the person that they're with, you know what I'm saying? Because let's keep it a buck. I won't say most dudes, but a lot of guys that women have dated, they ain't trying to look at your feet. They don't care about, other little kinks and fetishes. They trying to smash. You know what I'm saying?
They're trying to stroke for the grade.
So believe it or not, you get a woman who will show you her tits and her ass faster than she'll show you her feet. You can ask one right now, yo, send me an ass pic. You get an ass pic.
No, you ain't got to ask. It's all over social media.
Facts. But you like, yo, let me see how your toe game is. Now what? You weird. I'm looking like, what? Ain't that a part of your body? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
start asking to see the keys.
So it just gets to a point to where you have to understand, and I'm all for respecting boundaries. If there's a troubled past that you have with that, that's something that we can work around and talk through, or figure out what the source of the issue is and let you know that, hey, I'm not like that person in the past that did you wrong. You know what I'm saying? But again, you have to be real with yourself, and say, okay, well, if I'm gonna go through with this person, these are things that we're gonna have to compromise on.
Well, but then sometimes just educate them.
Right.
Just educate them. Just like,
ignorance is not an excuse.
But see, here's the thing: you educate them on the subject itself. That's the 101. And then when you get to the 201s and the 301s, that's more so about yourself, right? And then I'll tell people, like, I said, don't knock it necessarily. I don't want to say don't knock till you try it,
right?
But I kind of tell them, like, don't knock it till you try it with me,
right? And
it's happened to where one girl I was dating a few years ago. She was against a bunch of stuff. She was just straight vanilla. But she gave me the shot.
Right.
To the point where we did it, like, I think once or twice. And then next thing you know, she started asking for it, like, yo, I just like how that felt. I didn't know there was a different sensation to it.
Right.
And it wasn't just the foot thing or the ass thing. It was like numerous things. And it was in a way that it was a way that nobody had ever paid attention to her body before. Right. So in hindsight, it's like or in retrospect, it's like, if you think about it, like, you don't know unless you try it, because it can bring out different sensations.
Right.
So it was just be more open-minded. If you're more open-minded about it and just talk to your partner about it, and what you touched on one of those questions last week was why men are afraid to talk about intimacy. Is one of the reasons, because we're called weird and strange and shit like that when you like certain, different things. So
and then what happens is that when men finally confide in other women, whether it be in groups, whether it be in the job or whatever, that's how affairs start. That's how cheating starts, because now they found somebody else who's interested in what they're into, and the home teammate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And again, this is not to justify or try to make light of the situation, but what happens to if you like a certain kink or fetish, and the home team is just like, man, no, I ain't doing it. You crazy, you weird. And then you go to another atmosphere to vent, or to wherever you hang out at, and you go, man, home team don't do that. And next thing you know, and this person was like, shoot, I do, I'm down, and you look like, oh snap, And one of the things that I won't say hate is a strong word, But what I don't care for,
strongly dislike.
but what I don't care for is how people always say, "Well, you should have did all that before you got into a relationship. You should have did all that." Okay, let me tell you something.
It's not a phase.
You know what I'm saying?
Or a fad.
You don't know what you're going to like or what you're going to engage in. You know, as my mama say, if you live long enough. You know, you don't know. You might not be interested in no threesomes 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But with the way things are in the world and feelings, and you see things, because we're a visual, especially as men. Men are very visual. You know, if I see something I want it, I go get it. You know,
Yep.
and what happens is you see these things and say, I wonder how would it feel. I know how it feels to have this side of me kissed on. But what happens if I got both sides of me kissed on or rubbed on? Oh wow, that's even better sensation.
It's double pleasure, double fun.
You know, and that's where it comes from. Again, I really think people know how I am about religion. So I think religion and westernized culture has really turned a blanket over how our human nature goes.
Hey, but you know what? If you think about it, like way back when, and you know, throughout time, it was people like way more open with it.
Right.
Like, look at the Greeks,
Mm-hmm.
and they over there, they'll be partying, and the party is just one big ass orgy.
Right.
You walk in, you got wine over here, you got hedonism over here, you got some dude getting spanked with a cat whip over here, you know, and it's just normal. People just walking around having a conversation like.
And I think a lot of times people look at, you know, their grandparents or, you know, aunts, uncles, people that they respect, they've been married 30 years, you know, 10 kids, you know, plethora of grandchildren. And so they look at that one union and they mirror or try to, you know, mimic that what they see. You know what I'm
They
saying?
don't understand what it took to get there, though.
But again, it's just like, but at the same time, you can have a happy union or a relationship in whether it's poly, whether it's lifestyle, or, you know, one man, one woman type thing. You know what I'm saying? It all depends on what you and that partner wants and their communication.
Right.
So I just don't want to get into the thing is, you know, people are quick to say, why do you do all this before you got in a relationship? Why do you do all this before you got married? It's like, it's not about the timing. You know what I'm saying?
Because they make it seem like it's a phase.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was dating somebody, and it was like, well, I just give you a threesome just so you can get out your system. You know, I said, what? Huh?
Right. It's not.
It don't work that way.
It's not weed.
We can do what we want. But, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, why does it have to be, oh, get it out your system, and then we can move forward from here? Like, it's just like, first of all, you saying that you want to give me that to get it out of my system, that means you don't even want it. So why would you do something that you don't want to do,
right,
to try to appease? You know,
because what it is, threesomes and orgy and group play and lifestyle, it's all connected to cheating, to some type of some form of I'm not good enough for you, so therefore you got to consciously search for something else. You know what I'm saying?
That's a huge misconception.
Right.
It's ladies, listen, ladies. Where the camera at? Ladies,
Let me see my yak.
It's not that you're not enough or that you're not good enough. It's never about that. If that was the case, then we would probably be like, whatever. But it has nothing to do with that.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. So scratch that, please. The camera. Scratch it.
It boils down to experience. I mean, if you like roller coasters, if you want to try a new restaurant, you know what I'm saying? It's about the experience. Like, you can go get a hamburger from any place. You know what I'm saying? But you go to a certain restaurant for an experience. You go to there because you like the atmosphere. You like what it represents. You know, people think, you know, when you're in the lifestyle that, okay, you just open up the door, everybody is having sex raw, no condom on, and jumping from apartment to apartment to apartment. And I'm like, that's
like COVID.
that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Not.
You know,
I've been to a swinger club. It's definitely not that.
or if you're having a threesome with somebody that one person is getting more love than the other, or you don't love your mate. Because trust and believe, just as much as, my motto is fair exchange ain't no robbery. So just like, the brothers want two women on them, trust and believe, brothers, she can ask for them two men on them, the same way, So again,
I'm gonna let you finish. And one of the biggest misconceptions is for women is if we have this threesome, then I feel like the woman is saying, I feel like then y'all probably gonna try to do something without me. Right. Like y'all gonna keep in contact.
Right.
Or she gonna hit you some type of way. The main your girl, your woman is gonna feel like that is gonna open the door for the other chick. And it has, again, nothing to do with the camera. Nothing to do with that.
Now, we'd be fools to sit there and say that it doesn't happen or it could happen. You know what I'm saying? So, again, it just goes down to the rules and regulations. I know people who've been married for a long time, been in the game, they do their thing, and they have a beautiful relationship. I know people who done went that route and it didn't work out for them. You have to work out what's best for you and your union. And to say this, it boils down to, can you live without that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If your mate doesn't give you that, whatever you're into, whether it's fetish, kink, lifestyle, whatever, if your mate says, no, I'm not about that, can you say, you know what? That's a chapter in my life that's gone. You know what I'm saying? I turn that down and I focus on building our union.
Right. That's important.
But also too, if you do decide to go that route, things can't be the same. You see what I'm saying? Because you're always going to leave something open to make that person wonder. You ever go buy an outfit or go purchase something and you felt good when you got the purchase, but when you got home, you really like, did I really need to buy this?
Buyer's remorse.
Yeah, buyer's remorse, exactly. Did I really need to do this? Was it worth it?
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I should have did this. Now you started having regrets. So it just boils down to, be real with yourself. Talk to your mate, let them know what's going on. If you're on the receiving end of what the person is asking, don't be so quick to judge them.
Right.
We're all human. We're all like, well, except for you. You got animal blood in, I guess.
Like Chuck said, of the world.
No, but it just boils down to experimenting on different things. Listen, there's a reason why these OnlyFans models is getting paper from doing fetishes and kinks and whatnot. And I'm saying you got to be.
And don't even be into it. They just do it to make the money.
Right. And again, if you're in a relationship, it's give and take. It's
right.
Give and take. The best thing you want to do is communicate, find out why. Okay, find out how I can incorporate this into our lifestyle and kind of go from there.
Big facts. Yeah, I mean, and I'm looking to get into a relationship, pretty soon, and keep it. I ain't trying to be out here, dumb dicking and serial fornicating, and, just be out here getting around like a carousel. But the person I am talking to, like we actually have open communication about this. And what I try not to do, and I consciously don't do, is try to force feed things. If she wants to, like, I'll dabble, I'll like throw some out there a little bit, and if she hooks on it, then we'll have a conversation about it. And then there are times where, like, we'll be in a conversation and she'll bring it up, and then we'll talk about it. But I mostly educate her on the one-on-one, but then I kind of get into how it is with me. So that way she can sit there and, like, when we're not having a conversation, and she can think about it, like, probably not that bad. It's probably not as bad as she originally thought. So like I said before, we started recording, like, we haven't even been together intimately yet. We have been going on dates and having a conversation, because I want to get here, before I get here.
Right.
So by the time we do get there, all the fetishes and kinks, we'll have everything worked out.
Table, right.
Everything, all the cards on the table, you know, and so that way there's no hiccups, there's no surprises.
Right.
You know. So fellas, be mindful of one, who you want to explore these things with, and two, make sure when you do it, like, you're safe with it. Make sure that they're comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the last thing you want to do is be into something and then get into something with a situationship or relationship or an entanglement, whatever have you, and then they're doing it just to appease you, but for them it's more like a chore.
Mm-hmm.
While you trying to get your rocks off. You know what I'm saying? So, like you always say, well, actually both of us say, fair sharing and robbery. Ask her what she like. Ask her what turns her on. What is her fetish? What is her? Women have more kinks than fetishes. Men have more fetishes than kinks. Blah blah blah. Ask her. Just ask her things and accommodate her. You know, and then when you accommodate her, then she'll be thinking like, oh man, he's like really, really into me. I could reciprocate on the same level.
Because a lot of times people don't realize they're into something until you point it out. You see what I'm saying? You know, my wife would tell me all the time, I don't have a fetish. I don't have a kink. But she likes a nice, strong back. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that turns her on. You know, so again, you might not think fetish or kink means, oh my God, you know, if I see them slobbing all over the place. But again, it's a desire for a certain thing. It's a desire for some type of bodily function. If you like a nice man with clean nails and, you know, teeth fixed and stuff like that. No, it might not go into a fetish, but those are turn-on points that it's a mental attraction and it's a must for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So again, it's just communication, and we want to put this video out to get people to understand that there's more to life than just what you think you know. Because it was Dr. Red Hagen that says you can take a circle, draw the biggest circle in the world that you want, put everything that you know inside of that circle. Outside of that circle is so much more that we don't know. So understand that communication and being open-minded and learning, don't even wait for somebody to come ask you. Me personally, I used to read lots of books on different types of kinks, fetishes, lifestyles to educate yourself, because even though it may not be for you, it's good to have the knowledge of it.
Right.
You know,
that's the biggest thing.
You know,
is having knowledge, because you may run into somebody that may be into something that you're not into, but because you already did the research on it,
right,
you understand it. And
it's a whole lot easier for somebody who's not in a committed relationship, because you can say, okay, this person don't want to do this, or I can go to somebody else. But for those like myself who are in the married community, you got to constantly find ways to spice things up and to keep it popping. And the only way you're going to do that...
get there, man.
I mean, I'm just saying, man. I mean, there's different perspectives. So, I mean, but the only way you're going to understand it is if you start doing your research. And you can't always go to the homegirl asking them for advice, because if they ain't even open, how are they going to help you get to the next level?
All they're going to do is just
know what I'm saying?
Fuel what they're saying.
Because,
like, is just
right.
Don't do that. Stay on the side.
Because the men, we looking at stuff, whether it's flicks, whether it's anything on the internet, whether YouTube, we always looking at something, because we're visual. Men are a visual creature. So we're always looking at something, you know, and then that's why the men want to come on, they want to try it on, because they saw something. You ain't looked at nothing. That's why you sitting at home wondering, like, where'd you get this from? Who told you about that? You know what I'm saying?
That's something that they should explore together. And like, hey, babe, look at this.
Right, and that goes into my next point. Learn how to do things together with your mate. You know what I'm saying? Go to the sex store together. Look at some different things. You know, experiment different things, and you will see how much you two can evolve together. Because again, we're living in different times now.
Right.
Back in the day, loyalty was more of a obligation. You know, grandma and grandpa, they didn't have, you know, YouTube and the internet. You know, it was working out there on the farm, you know, lay on your back and you had 12 children. You know what I'm saying? And the loyalty, because the husband was the provider, you know, and the mother took care of the home. That was the loyalty of the union. Even though grandpa might have stepped out and had some kids on the side, but again, the loyalty was there. Nowadays, it's like, okay, well, if you don't like it from the back, then K-ass. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, and the men are like, all right, but fuck it, I care my ass then. Next thing you know it, you only married 3-4 years. Because there's no bringing it together.
There's no compromise.
There's no compromise, and also there's no willingness to say, you know what, let's evolve as a union. Let's do whatever we got to do. And the problem is, you don't have to go and tell your homegirl you took it in the ass. You ain't got to go tell your homegirl you was on the ceiling twirling around on the fan. Because what happens is, y'all tell these things to your friends, and when they look at you with the side eye or the gas face, you feel like, oh, I done something I shouldn't have done.
Right.
Oh girl, me and my husband had a threesome last night, and what the friend do? Girl, I'm nasty. You know what I'm saying? Instead of respecting their union, hey, if that's what they want to do, you know what I'm saying? Get all the tea. She gonna spill the tea for you. Then spill the tea, take it back, use it as motivation for your situation. I ain't saying you got to go have no threesome, but you know you can get turned on by that. Find out what turns you on. Evolve. What turns you on at 18 should be the same thing that turns you on now. It should be an enhancement.
And that's with everybody.
You know,
what turned me on at 18 is it's evolved now that I'm 32.
Right.
So it's like I've expanded my desires.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And you learn more.
I've learned a whole lot more.
Right.
You know, and then because of what I desired and then opened that, I'm like, damn, what else is out there?
Right.
Not necessarily saying that I'm into like all these things, but it's
Right.
like at least have knowledge of it.
Right.
Because now say I go date this person and they're like, well, you know, I don't know how you feel about this and I want to scare you away, but I kind of like this. I'm like, I mean, I haven't tried it, but I know of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Knowledge versus wisdom.
Right.
You know, so, but then if you actually get into like that union with that person or, be involved with that person, then of course, be safe with it, be open with it and, try it out. You know, if somebody told me, if old girl told me like, hey, I kind of want to try this. I've never done it before. I want to try it. I'm like, all right, well, I'll look into it, and and then next thing you know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So just think about it and just be open about it.
Just remember this: if you don't remember nothing else, aspirin is good for you. If you take too many of them, it's gonna be your last headache. You understand? So there's risks, pros and cons to everything in life. You know what I'm saying? There's pros and cons to threesomes. There's pros and cons to lifestyle. There's pros and cons to being in a one-on-one union. It's just you have to take and say, okay, is this what I want to do? And then research it. And if you figure out, hey, it's not for you, and we have to respect each other's opinions and boundaries. If the fetish thing ain't for you, then say, okay, you know what? Don't worry about it. Keep your socks on, baby, because I love you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, you know what I'm saying? So it just boils down to, if we're going to make this work, compromise. If the compromise isn't there, you know what I'm saying? And this is for my unionized folks, relationship-wise, married, what have you. And it's not a phase, like Ryan said, it's not a phase, it's not something you wake up one morning and say, you know what? Oh yeah, I don't want to do nothing else but just lay on my back the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? You may wake up one day and say, hey, I'm not interested anymore.
Right.
But it doesn't mean it's a phase. You can't pray it away. You can't, all the other type of stuff. You can't do that, because it's a mental thing, So
and just know that everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have the same fetish, but mine is different from his.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's knowing your partner, right? So that's why it's important, so important to educate and kill the notions of all the misconceptions of what is and what isn't. Everything is tailored. Wrap it up in a minute.
Yeah.
You got anything else before
open-minded, research yourself. You know, don't meet us there, beat us there. You know what I'm saying? So it just boils down to, you know, before a person can come to you, hey, have you heard of this? You know, I done heard so much. Ain't nothing you can say to blow my mind. You know what I'm saying? I done seen so much and looked and saw. It ain't too much left out here that, you know, in my 42 years, I ain't seen. You know, I ain't done it all. I'm pretty much seen a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Watch.
That's all I got, brother.